Stampers, it's Kim Vogel with the Basement Bunch Stampers, here for another terrific Tuesday video. And today is my second video showcasing some of our background stamps, as I have not been using them very much and decided to show you a couple techniques with them. Today I'm going to be showing you a technique referred to as the inlay technique. And the background stamp set that I chose to use is the burlap stamp set, available in our annual catalog. And I made this very cute country looking card and used some of our actual burlap ribbon in addition to this background stamp. And what I did on this card, I'm going to bring it right in so you can see it, is I heat embossed using clear embossing powder the design on both of these. And I did it continually, so it gave you the look of it being one piece that I embossed, but I actually embossed them separate. And so I'm going to showcase that for you today. So what I started with was a piece of the soft suede cardstock. This is cut 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to fold that in half at 4.25. You could have also scored this, and I normally do. Just forgot to do that before my video today. And then I have a piece of crumb cake cardstock. Now this is cut 5.25 by 4, and using the bold butterfly framelits. Now these are going away. They are on the retired list in our annual catalog, so I encourage you to add them to your collection if you have not done so yet. But using the large butterfly from the bold butterfly collection, I ran this through the Big Shot and cut out that butterfly. Now you can use that butterfly on a different project or a different card using the same technique. But again, don't throw that out. And then on a piece of So Saffron cardstock, I cut another one of those butterflies out as well. From here, what I did is I'm using a piece of paper. This is actually an old envelope that I no longer need. And what you're going to want to do is gently adhere this down to a piece of paper, typing paper, something that you have in your craft room. And if you have temporary adhesive, that would even be more ideal. I unfortunately do not have any of that. Because all we're doing is gluing this down just enough to hold it together so that I can do the heat embossing technique to get this all together. And that's going to fit in there just like a puzzle because it's the same size framelit that I cut out of each one of those. From there, what you're going to do is you're going to be using the stamp, the burlap background stamp, and I'm going to bring that into my camera here. And what you're going to do is using the Versamark ink pad, you are going to ink this all up. And I'm going to show you a neat little technique that I use for getting this to stamp onto a bigger piece of cardstock. Sometimes when you're trying to do it the opposite way, where you adhere this to a clear block and stamp it onto paper, sometimes you get it crooked or it doesn't do the best job. And I have found that this works so much better for me. I also showed you a technique in my last week's video where I did another similar technique with a piece of paper overlaying on top of it. So from there, what I'm going to do, and I know that I've got my piece of cardstock all the way over. Now I could cut this off, and maybe I will, just so that I don't accidentally have this be too much. So what you're going to do is you're going to center this onto this, let me bring this in again so you guys can see. Center this onto here, and I am just going to push this down, and I'm going to give this a good amount of pressure around all of the corners. Now you're going to want to hang on to it with one hand and use the other hand to do your pushing onto this, because you do not want this to move or slide. But you do want to make sure that you apply good pressure to this entire area so that you have Versamark covered on this entire thing. Okay, I'm just going to kind of make sure that we get this really good. On my sample, you'll notice that I didn't get a spot right here, but I chose to use it as my sample to show you that it's still pretty, even though I missed a spot there. So I want to push really good there and make sure I get some good coverage. From there, I'm going to pick this right up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this apart. We want to heat emboss these, but we need to do them separate. If I was to heat emboss this together, I would get heat embossing stuck in that the crevice of that, around that edgelet die where it cut, and I don't want that to do that. So what I'm going to do now is carefully remove these from my envelope that I used as just a piece of paper to hold them together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat emboss these using clear embossing powder, and I am going to heat emboss both of them. So let me bring this in here. And I'm going to actually show you how awesome it is to heat emboss with clear embossing powder. I'm not sure if you've seen it before, but it just gives it a really nice little watermark finish to it. So I'm going to start by doing this butterfly first. And so that one is ready to be heat embossed. And then I'm going to add some of the Versamark to this entire background of this crumb cake as well. And I'm just going to kind of slide this down around on here. And I want to have that be full coverage, so I'm going to just kind of keep on going with it and until I have it everywhere where I need it to be. If you haven't joined my mailing list, please check out my website at kimsbasementbunch.com. I provide free tutorials every Friday, lots of ideas and inspiration weekly on my Tuesday videos, as well as email newsletters on Tuesday. So make sure you check that out. I'd love to have you be part of my mailing list to get additional information about my online classes and all that as well. So now I'm going to bring these back in here. Let me put my Versamark away. And now I'm going to use the heat tool, and I'm going to actually heat emboss these, and you're going to see these turn to like a, let me bring my sample back, and you can see what that clear embossing powder looks like embossed onto that pretty crumb cake using this background stamp. So I'm sure you can probably see that changing. It just melts that powder and gives it that pretty background. And because I stamped this onto the paper when that was still in there, it's going to look like it's a big one continuous embossing, and it's going to match right up. But I'm doing it again separately so that I don't have issues with embossing powder sticking in the creases where I don't want it to stick there. So just going to give this a minute to continue to emboss. Embossing is such a fun technique. If you haven't done it in a while, pull out your embossing gun and do it. It's so fun, and it's a really nice wow card, and I love it. It's probably one of my favorite techniques just because of the simplicity of it, but the wow factor that it gives you when you hand the card to someone that has never done card making before. They are just in awe over how you did that. It's kind of cool. So we're almost done here, so let me just finish this up a little bit. So there we go. Look how awesome. And you can tell that I did get a little bit better in that area than I did on my sample. But again, I wanted to show you that I'm not perfect either, and that's still a perfect card, and I'm not changing a thing on it. So from there, what I did for assembling of this card is I used some of our burlap twine, and I just cut a piece, and I kind of did my little cheater method. I cut a piece of this burlap that goes around the edges, and I'm using glue dots just to put that on, and then I'm going to tie this around here like so. And this is kind of a thicker ribbon, so I did have to use some glue dots to hold this in place, but then I cut another little piece, and I'm putting it underneath here, and I'm just going to tie it on like so. And it is a little bit of a stiffer ribbon to work with, but I thought it was the perfect ribbon for using on this project today. And then what I did is I just took a glue dot off of my glue dot roll, and I'm going to stick it underneath that knot, and it's going to hold that in place perfect for me. And then from there, I am going to adhere this to my card. Again, this is my card base for this card today. And I'm going to adhere this on to that, like so. And then using some dimensionals, I am going to, let me make sure I get that stuck good. Using some dimensionals, I'm going to put this butterfly in its place. Now, if you didn't want the dimensional look to this, you could just inlay this butterfly directly into the card. But I like that it gives it a little bit of a raised up look by doing it that way. And what I also used on the butterfly is some white enamel shapes. Now those are also going to be retired, so if you do not have them yet, they make a good addition to this card. I encourage you to get an order placed ASAP and add these to your order so that you have them for making this card. And then using the Sunshine Wishes with dies, which are carrying over into the new catalog, I cut out the word hope and I simply adhered that down here to the bottom. I thought this would be a really pretty card to give somebody who might be struggling with cancer or an ailing illness or something like that. And this you can use our glue to glue down, but for purposes of making it quick and easy today, I am just going to use a couple of glue dots to adhere this down to my card today. And I used this, I used the So Saffron cardstock to cut that out. And there you have a very cute and simple country themed card, perfect for anybody who you want to give an encouragement card to. So thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this second way of using some of your background stamps, and I encourage you to pull them off the shelf and start creating with them. Thanks for stopping today and have a great day. Bye.